Hey, welcome. If you're navigating life as an expat in Germany, you know that paperwork is just part of the deal. Today, we are going to break down everything you need to know about certified translations in Germany for 2026. So picture this. You get an official-looking letter, maybe from the foreigner's office or the Standesamt. It's packed with that beautiful, complicated German, and then you see it. Two words that can cause a bit of a panic. Beglaubigte Übersetzung. It's a moment pretty much every expat goes through.
But honestly, don't worry. What looks super complicated is actually a really clear, straightforward process once you know the rules. So let's walk through it together and make this whole thing simple.
All right, let's start with the absolute basics. What even is a certified translation in the eyes of the German government, and, more importantly, who's actually allowed to do one?
Okay, so a certified translation isn't just someone who's good at languages retyping your document. Nope, think of it as a legal instrument. It's a translation that has been officially stamped and signed by a special translator, one who's been authorized by a German court. That's what gives it its legal power.
And because it's a legal thing, it has to follow some very strict rules. First, it has to be a complete translation. You can't just translate one paragraph. The translator has to describe everything on the page, every stamp, every seal, every little marking. And then it's all tied together with their official confirmation statement, their personal stamp, and of course, their signature.
So this brings up a huge point of confusion. Can't you just go to a notary for this? The answer is a clear and simple no. A notary in Germany can certify that a copy of your passport is a real copy, for example. But they do not translate or certify the content of a translation. That job belongs exclusively to a court-sworn translator.
And there's a really good reason for that. Becoming a sworn translator isn't easy. These professionals have passed incredibly tough state exams, they've literally taken a legal oath in a courtroom, and they've been vetted for their skill and reliability. They even have to carry professional liability insurance because they are legally on the hook for the accuracy of their work.
And hey, here's a quick tip on the German jargon. You might see a few different words out there, like beeidigt, vereidigt, or ermächtigt. Don't let them throw you off. They all mean the exact same thing, a court-sworn translator. So if you see any of those, you know you're dealing with the right person.
Okay, so now that we've covered the what and the who, let's dive into the practical stuff. The things you really need to know. Which documents need this treatment, what the process looks like, and of course, how much it's all going to cost.
You are going to run into this requirement a lot as an expat. The biggest category, by far, is personal stuff, like your birth certificate or marriage certificate, which you'll absolutely need if you want to get married at the Standesamt. Right behind that are your diplomas and work licenses for things like a blue card application. And yep, even passports and driver's licenses often need the certified treatment.
The great news is that getting this done in 2026 is actually super easy. Most services have boiled it down to 4 simple steps. You just upload a clear photo or a PDF of your document, tell them the languages and what you need, they send you a final quote to approve, and then boom, you get the translation, usually both as a secure digital file and the official paper copy in the mail.
So how long does all this take? Well, for common languages like English, Spanish, or French, you're usually looking at about 2 to 4 business days to get the digital version. If you're dealing with rarer languages or really dense legal documents, it might take a little longer, maybe 4 to 7 days. The real takeaway here is to always plan ahead and give yourself a buffer.
All right, let's talk money. For a simple, standard one-page document like a birth certificate, you should expect to pay somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 70 euros. And that price typically includes everything: the translation, the official stamp, the signature, the whole shebang.
Now, what if you have something longer, like a multi-page university diploma with all your grades? In that case, the price is usually calculated per page, often falling somewhere between 40 and 60 euros a page. It can vary a bit based on how complex the formatting is.
Okay, let's move on to our final section. We're going to cover 2 really crucial topics: how to make sure your sensitive data stays safe, and a little checklist to help you get your translation accepted on the very first try.
Look, when you're uploading a copy of your passport or a marriage certificate, security is a huge deal. Any reputable service in 2026 is going to use encrypted file transfers, store your data on secure servers inside the EU, and be fully compliant with data protection laws like GDPR. This is non-negotiable for keeping your private information safe.
To save yourself a massive headache, just run through this quick checklist. Before you even order, double-check with the office what they need.
Make sure your scans are super clear, no blurry photos. And here's a big one. Check that every single name and date matches your passport perfectly. A tiny typo can cause huge delays. And I'll say it again, order early.
One question we get all the time is, do these translations expire? Well, technically, the translation itself is a factual record, so it's valid forever. However, and this is a big however, the specific German office you're dealing with might have their own rule that they only accept documents translated in the last, say, 6 months. It's always best to check with them directly.
And that brings me to probably the most important pro tip for 2026. While more and more offices are starting to accept digital PDFs of certified translations, many of them still insist on seeing that physical piece of paper with the real ink stamp and signature. So, my advice? If you are ever in doubt, just order the paper original. It's the safest bet.
So, when you break it all down, that official letter doesn't seem quite so intimidating anymore, does it? The process is clear, the rules are specific, and now you have the playbook to get it done right. The only question left is your paperwork ready for Germany?